So with Islamic teaching, the Prophet ﷺ, when he taught Islam to his companions, there was an element of mercy and compassion that was infused in his teaching. You know what I mean? Like, we're not always going to agree, right? We're not going to always agree, but there's a level of mercy and compassion that was infused into the Prophet ﷺ's teaching. There's a human element to disagreeing and not seeing eye to eye. But today, disagreement is viewed as disrespect, and the degree of intolerance in our interaction with one another is really a matter of how Islam is being taught to us. All right. And this intolerance that is infused into the way that Islam is being taught today, it creates hostility between Muslims. It creates hostility between Muslims and animosity between Muslims, which could possibly lead to violence, which could possibly lead to violent situations, man. When you're telling people, we don't sit with the people of deviance, and we don't sit with the people of bid'ah, and we frown on the people of bid'ah, and Imam Ahmed said blah, 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 and you're mentioning all of these individual isolated situations, narrations that might be authentic, might not be authentic, but the fact of the matter is that when we are giving these narrations out, are we weighing that against what the Prophet ﷺ did? We don't take a situation where Imam Ahmed interacted with this person of innovation like this, and then now that becomes the sunnah. That does not become the sunnah. We take the statement of Imam Ahmed or the behavior of, Ishaq or Fulan, Hassan al-Basri, or this one or that one, and we weigh it against what the Prophet ﷺ did. We don't take what one of the Salaf did as an isolated situation and turn that into deen. That's not the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Malik said, "Ma lam yakun deenan yawma idhin lan yakun deenan." Whatever was not a part of the religion on the day that the ayat, "This day I have perfected for you your deen," on the day that ayat was revealed, will never be a part of the religion. You don't take an isolated situation from one of the Salaf and turn that into deen. And that's the way that these guys have been able to function for so long. They have created another religion. They have created another religion. And if you guys can't see that right now, I'm sorry. I see it for what it is. They have created an entirely different religion other than the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Taking isolated situations from narrations from the Salaf and using that as an individual isolated situation to create a pattern of behavior that is hostile and that is aggressive towards other Muslims. I don't know how else to spell it out for you. Almost like the Nation of Islam. I'm just being honest with you. Almost like the Nation of Islam. So when they're saying, "Oh, this person's a deviant, don't listen to this one," that's a smoke screen. That's a distraction. They are the deviants. That's a distraction. Why can't y'all see that? That is a distraction, the biggest distraction. And you can't see that these individuals are not practicing Islam. That's a completely different religion. What they're on is something totally different. They have taken, isolated, "Oh, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said this and Fulan said this." Now we weigh all of that, filter all of that through the Quran and the Sunnah. You understand? Filter all of that through the Quran and the Sunnah. Yeah, Imam Ahmed did this to this person or didn't want to sit with that person. But what did the Prophet ﷺ do in that situation? See, you got to understand how this stuff works, man. They've infused their teachings with hatred and animosity, and it creates violence. It creates a violent, hostile environment. An insensitivity where a person can die. As Mufti Munir, his nephew was murdered. And he said he went to the janazah. He went to the janazah and there were brothers at the janazah. Wallah al-Azim wouldn't even give him the salams. Still wouldn't even shake his hand. Even at a janazah. Something as sensitive as you losing your 13-year-old nephew to murder, gun violence. And you go into the janazah vulnerable as you can be. And brothers still holding on to this, here again, like the police. They follow that script. They don't let that script go. I could see you at a janazah. I still ain't giving you the salams. You still a deviant in my eyes. I still make dua that Allah break your back. You understand? That joint is a whole nother religion. That is a completely different religion. That is not the Quran and the Sunnah that has been left to us by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallah al-azim. How you come to a janazah where a guy is grieving over the murder, brutal murder of his nephew, and you still won't even get a man the salams? You still won't even talk to him, even in a vulnerable situation like dealing with death, because they don't see you as a human being. They don't see you as a Muslim. You understand? They don't see you as a Muslim, understanding what you're dealing with. When the Nation of Islam cut Malcolm off, his blood became halal. They didn't even see him as being a part of them anymore because they were on something totally different. You understand? We're not going to have too many more opportunities to sit here and spell all of this stuff out. You guys got to be quick you got to be understanding what's in front of you, man. You got to see what's going on in front of you, man. And this intolerance, man, this passive-aggressive behavior where you're standing in a crowd of brothers and a brother walk up, give this brother salam, 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 and don't give you the salams. This passive-aggressive behavior. This is passive-aggressive behavior where you walk up to, you're standing in a crowd of people and he'll give everybody the salams in the crowd except you. Passive-aggressive behavior, this hostile attitude, almost as if you want to harm me, you want to do something physical to me. We're talking about Muslims who don't mind spilling the blood of another Muslim because they criticize your imam. They use words like attacking the Salafis. Listen to the language. Attacks the Salafis. Listen to the language. Understand how this stuff works. Understand where this stuff is going. Understand. So this intolerance, is compromising the essence of our brotherhood in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-mu'min alladhi yukhalitu an-nas wa yasbir ala adahum khayrun min al-mu'min alladhi la yukhalitu an-nas wa la yasbir ala adahum." The believer who mingles with people and is patient with the harm that he receives from them is better than the believer who does not mix with people and is not patient with the harm that he receives from them. There's a level of tolerance there in dealing with people from different walks of life, the human need for compassion with errors. This is another area where we have become very insensitized, very desensitized, all right? And insensitive. There are many examples of the Prophet ﷺ leading with compassion. Leading with compassion. I remember, one of my professors in the university, Sheikh Ibrahim al-Ruhaili, he wrote a book, encouraging the youth of the Salafis to be gentle with one another. And literally we had scholars that were warning against the book. Rifqan Ahl Sunnah, Ahl Sunnah, be gentle with Ahl Sunnah. He wrote a book telling the Muslims that ascribe to the Salafi Dawah, to, the Sunnah, to be gentle with one another. And then you had scholars who went behind warning against people who, spread in the book. The person who translated it, the person who spread it. How do you do that? How do you do that? Because you understand what's happening. They want to see us feuding with one another, fighting with one another, keeping us distracted and dysfunctional. Understand how that works. Distracted and dysfunctional. Why would a scholar write a refutation on another scholar who wrote a book telling Muslim youth to be gentle with one another? Why? Why would you do that? Yes, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin's book. And then Sheikh Ibrahim Ruhaili wrote another book, a small treatise that I translated myself. Why would a scholar go behind another scholar who wrote a book telling Ahl Sunnah to be gentle with one another? And this is one of the senior scholars in Medina who many of these scholars that they take from, they were his students. And he writes a book, a small treatise, telling people, you know, be gentle with one another. Ahlul Sunnah, be gentle with one another. And then you'll have a scholar that comes behind him and says, anybody who passed out that book, translate that book, they're deviants, they're this, they're that, stay away from them, they're Ahlul Bid'ah. Like, how? How? Except that you want to see us feuding and fighting and acting like Negroes. Yeah. I get it. I get it. We want to see you acting like Negroes. We want to see y'all doing what y'all do best as African Americans. Do what y'all do best. Kill each other. Do what y'all do best, because that's what we're known for. Savages. Right? You're savages anyway. Kill each other. Do what y'all do best. And here we are today doing what we do best. Hating one another, hostile to one another, arrogant and aggressive towards one another, doing what we do best. Acting like a bunch of Negroes. Doing exactly what we do best. Yeah. Absolutely. Because they don't respect us. Because why else would you warn against a book that is teaching Muslim youth to be gentle with one another? Why else would you warn against that, other than the fact that you don't want any good to be spread to them out of hopes that they would not act like Negroes? They would actually act dignified and have some sense, right? I mean, that's the only reason that I could think of. That's the only reason that I could think of that a person would, you know, at the time, it looked like you were only warning against it because it seems like maybe you were, you know, my phone is getting ready to die. So you guys on Facebook Live, gotta be patient. All right, I'm gonna do my best here. That's the only reason that I can think of, you know, because there was nothing wrong with the book. Sheikh Abdul Muhsin is regarded in Saudi Arabia as one of the senior scholars in Saudi Arabia. Why would you double back behind him, warning against the book, warning against anybody who spread the book, warning against anybody who had anything to do with the book? And then you got these guys, you got Salafis here in the States, they see you with the book on your bookshelf. Oh, you know what the Sheikh said about, you know, I mean, it's like, you gotta be kidding me, man. But wanting to see us do what we do best. I mean, you know, I don't have to, I've already stated on multiple occasions how I feel about the whole situation. So, I mean, like, what's, like, as the Arabs say, al-ma'ruf la yu'arraf. That something that is known doesn't have to be spoken out loud. When you know it, it is what it is, man.